Also, it gives you some nice, great discounts. For example, all of our members got to see the new movie with Farewell with Aquafina, of course, and she was so.
Try not to be too repetitive.
When World War II happened and the U.S. and China were allies, I mean, it was a liberating time. And my father, luckily, he took ROTC at Stanford, so he was commissioned already as a lieutenant, and then later he rose to the rank of major. He was in CBI, but as in the Army, overseas, in combat, there's not discrimination of race because everybody has to have the other person's back. So, and also he was, as an officer, everybody listened to him, and he was, the people under him. And there was this rank and file, you know, that was the way it was. These were the orders. And it was a great experience for him. Dangerous and horrible, and you know, he'd gone through all of that.
How did your family member join the military? And if you're a veteran, then if you could voice your feelings to either be drafted or enlisting.
Well, I was invited by the government. They call it a draft. I was just finished high school, and when I received the notice, my father wasn't too happy about it, but he realized that it's my duty to go. I believe my father probably served in World War II. He got his World War I, I should say, and he realized that if the country needs you, you must go and not write about it.
So actually my family went to El Paso, Texas. Maybe 7 more years we already found. And we saw not just my uncle, there's more than 50 Chinese town stores sitting there. So it's near the corner. So we can, that El Paso, the Fort Bliss National Cemetery has more than 50K, people buried there. But 50 more Chinese there, no flower, no one taking care of them. So we feel very, very sad. So I think my family spent a long time and decade finally found where he buried and sitting there, rested in the US. So I feel many other families must not know where their loved one there. Because for us, and we have people, we and my brother and went abroad, studied and lived in the US. But other family, and they don't know. So last year I started to write an article in Chinese local newspaper and mention about what my experience looking for my uncle. So all the story I found, so I decided to spread this news out. No one knows that. Even in this May, and I lead a team of Chinese family, I show that and to the El Paso to pay the homage tribute to them. Local church, Chinese church, and the local university, and no one knows. Nearby cemetery, there's some Chinese Air Force buried there. Message through the internet, newspaper, and everywhere, spread the news out. And also with the help with the charity group in China, and a lot of volunteers from US and Taiwan. Those people are Air Force family kids. So once they know that, so they just send out to help me. So we have a big group. So at this moment,
here's a poster saying China First to Fight. And this was sort of the China release that everybody got behind. But the feeling is China had been fighting for Japan for 10 years before Pearl Harbor. And I wanted to mention that my father, his older brother, my uncle George Ming Young, went to San Jose High School, wanted to be a pilot, and he did train in Texas. He became the first Chinese American to get a transport license, but he couldn't get into the Air Force, like you were saying. So he joined, he went to China, joined the Chinese Air Force. He became a he was so outstanding, he became an instructor, and they promoted him to colonel. And very sadly, he was killed in a reconnaissance mission in 1937. And here's a picture of my dad. I guess it's in Kunming, but they were on their way to the Burma Road. And this is a picture taken by the Signal Corps or a reporter, and it was to send home to your hometown to promote morale. And this is what I want to tell you about in the military. If you're a captain, you're a captain, regardless of race. Here's my father, Captain John C. Young, and this is Captain James Barnes. And so they're riding a Jeep, and there's my father's proudly, the CBI patch.
This was the Chinese Young Women's Society trophy that was awarded to them at the end of the war. Basically, the Chinese Americans didn't really have a USO to go to, so this organization set up a USO organization in Oakland's Chinatown and Lincoln School. So on the weekends, they would host the dances and parties for the Chinese troops to go to if they didn't have any place to go. So this trophy here was donated by Dorothy Ng, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But she was very proud of this trophy that was given to them on their behalf for their wartime service. Yeah.
So it says outstanding service to the armed forces of World War II. It was presented in April of '46.